Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Bruce Gordon with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. Thank you for joining us here at the MnDOT facility, but then also for everyone joining us across the state of Minnesota online. We're drawing a much needed attention to a deadly traffic safety issue. It started during the pandemic last year, and we have to put our foot down to make sure it doesn't continue in 2021. That issue is excessive speeding. With less traffic, some drivers are treating the roadway like it's a raceway, and it's killing our neighbors and our friends and our family. State agencies, law enforcement, traffic safety partners across Minnesota are ramping up a speed enforcement campaign, and we hope to change this dangerous and deadly behavior. Here with us today to share information about the campaign are Commissioner John Harrington from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Mike Hansen, he is the Director of the Office of Traffic Safety, Colonel Matt Langer is the Chief of the Minnesota State Patrol, Commissioner Margaret Anderson Kelleher from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and Mark Kindy, the Injury Prevention Program Manager from the Minnesota Department of Health. We'll begin with Commissioner Harrington.
Good morning. I'm John Harrington, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. And we're barely over a month into the new year, and I would rather be here talking about almost anything other than a serious traffic safety crisis. I don't want to be back here next year. I want to emphasize that I really do think this is something we can do something about, but I'm going to need everybody's help if we're going to be successful. If I am here next year, it means that this message didn't work and that we didn't get to the people who were acting in a reckless and a selfish and really a tragic way, speeding on Minnesota roadways. I don't want to see Minnesota families looking back on 2021 with heavy hearts because they lost a loved one to a speed-related crash. Minnesota experienced a level of speed-related fatal crashes last year that we haven't seen since 2008. It reached an alarming level such that multiple state and local agencies and the traffic safety partners are coming together on a speed reduction campaign. We've got to stop the carnage. Already last month, preliminary figures show 3 people died in speed-related crashes. I'm grateful to be here with my partners today. We're joining the Minnesota Department of Public Safety in this effort to change deadly speeding behaviors. We need drivers who aren't taking this problem seriously to slow down. We need their help because if they don't change, the crisis won't change. I want you to think about this as you're listening to this. I want you to think of the dad that's driving next to you. I want you to think about the mom that you're meeting on a 2-lane road. I want to think about the teen girl who's driving, who you're passing. I want you to remember that that's somebody's daughter. I want you to think about your loved ones, your life, and how all of that can disappear with one, yes, just one selfish decision to speed. If those people aren't enough for you to slow down, I want you to think about how a hefty speeding ticket, higher insurance rates, losing your driver's license will affect your life. I'm asking Minnesotans to drive smart, to slow down, and to live. With that, I believe the next person is Mike Hansen from the Office of Traffic Safety.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Mike Hansen, and I serve as the Director for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety. We're here to talk about something that's taking place on Minnesota roads. It's tragic, but it's simple to solve and it's not complicated. I have 3 things that I ask every Minnesota driver to think about when they get behind the wheel of that car to take that next trip. Speed kills. Speed kills. Speed is energy, energy is injury, injury can result in death. Every one of us can prevent these needless tragedies from taking place by making good, smart decisions behind the wheel and obeying that speed limit and driving according to the conditions. If you recklessly disregard the speed limits in Minnesota, you can expect to get stopped. Every one of us can help to fix this by avoiding driving aggressively and avoiding speeding. Speed is not something that's acceptable. It's something that we all need to pay attention to. In 2020, we saw at least a 12% increase in the number of serious and fatal injuries that were directly result of a speeding driver. That's not acceptable. All of us need to be part of that solution. And just to update some of the statistics the commissioner shared, so far this year we've had 23 fatal crashes take place in Minnesota. Of those 23, 6 of them, preliminary investigations tell us, have been directly related to speed violations, more than 25%. That, again, is not acceptable. Working with our Towards Zero Deaths partners, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, Minnesota Department of Health, we've identified the speeding issue that we're seeing on Minnesota roads as a public safety and a public health threat. And it's something that we all own and we all need to help fix. Beginning in January, the Office of Traffic Safety partnered with the Minnesota State Patrol to begin leading a statewide speed enforcement and education campaign. Beginning this month, we will be partnering with hundreds of other law enforcement agencies across the state. We will be providing extra enforcement and we will be providing education and outreach. This heavy and extra speed enforcement and education campaign will take us through the spring and into the summer. In July, we will conduct our already scheduled speed enforcement and education campaign. Minnesotans can expect to see new media and social media outreach and education campaigns that will be beginning very shortly. In addition to that, much as we did with the hands-free legislation, we will be reaching out to all of our diverse communities to make sure that every Minnesotan has the information that they need in order to make these good, sound, safe decisions behind the wheel. Across the state, our Towards Zero Deaths regional coordinators, our Safe Roads Coalition leaders, our city, county, and state engineers, and our emergency and medical services entities will all be partnering to make sure that we're keeping Minnesota roads as safe as we can for everybody. Minnesota, we need to solve this problem now. We've already had 6 too many fatalities as a direct result of speeding drivers. If we don't solve it now, that horrific cost will continue and it will only accelerate as our roads get busier in spring leading into the summer. We can do this, Minnesota. It takes all of us working together. Commit to safe choices on the road. Commit to driving smart. Slow down and live. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Langer, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as Chief of the Minnesota State Patrol. We're here to talk today about something that has really been top of mind for us through all of 2020 and has been escalating as we entered 2021. And although the State Patrol works exceptionally hard at combating the 4 things that cause the fatalities on our roads, seatbelts, lack of seatbelt use, impaired driving, distracted driving, and speed, the one thing that we heard over and over again from Minnesotans throughout 2020 was that speeds were out of control. And starting January 1st, the Minnesota State Patrol doubled down on our efforts to combat the dangerous speeds that we see on our roads across the entire state. As you heard from the Commissioner and you heard from Director Hansen, it's now evolving into a statewide effort, including county sheriff's offices and local police departments. The reason why is simple: speed kills. Of the 4 things that I mentioned, lack of seatbelt use, distracted driving, and impaired driving, speed is the one thing that makes everything else worse, and we need to see something change on our roads to make them safer than they are today. When I talk to troopers about what they're seeing on the roads, they're seeing a great increase in the number of drivers traveling at ridiculous speeds. In fact, last year we had more than 1,000 speeding tickets issued for vehicles traveling in excess of 100 miles an hour. That's double what we saw the year before. And the excuses don't cut it. Like for the person in Detroit Lakes who was driving 122 miles an hour because they were late to pick up friends. It doesn't cut it, and we're here to do something about it. The enforcement is both on duty and overtime, and it's focused on speeding, and it covers the entire state of Minnesota. Just in one geographical region, I'll give some example to show what our troopers encountered during just 1 month, last month in January. They held about 6 to 8 enforcement saturations above and beyond their regular work. And during those saturations in our Rochester district, which covers all of southeast Minnesota, they issued 564 speeding citations. 56 of those citations were for vehicles traveling over 20 miles per hour, and one driver was stopped for going 119 miles an hour in a 65 mile per hour zone. It's out of control on our roads for many reasons, and we intend to do something about it. And like I always do, I ask Minnesotans to comply. We would much rather see speeds around the limit, lower than the limit on mornings like we had today with weather in the metro. We'd much rather see drivers comply with the speed limit than to have troopers enforce the speed limit. But until that happens, our troopers are doubling down, and they're out there and they're looking for the drivers who are driving dangerously in excess of the speed limit, and we intend to do something about it. It's the right thing to do for all of us that have loved ones that use the road, whether it's walking, biking, or driving, and we can pull together and make the road safer by adhering to the speed limit and always driving as the conditions warrant, again, today being the perfect example. It's now my honor to introduce the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, Commissioner Margaret Anderson Kelleher. Commissioner.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Anderson Kelleher. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation. And I want to talk a little bit about the folks who are out working on our roads today. That includes the troopers, but it also includes the MnDOT folks, the folks who are plowing your roads, who in a little bit of time will be repairing your roads again, and what the speed means to them. We know that speed jeopardizes the crews who are out there working on the roads. We saw it last week. We saw a crash with a plow truck and a semi, and luckily no one was seriously injured or killed. But a lot of times there have been crashes that are very severe on our roadway, and speed is the contributing factor. We need to be aware that speed kills, and making sure that we are helping everyone get to their destination safely. That's our mission. Our safety mission at MnDOT is to make sure you can get to where you're going. That's much more difficult in this epidemic of speeding that's been going on in 2020 and seems to be continuing in 2021. It's all of our jobs to keep Minnesotans safe. And I just want to say, as commissioner and as a mother, it's also time for people to have direct conversations about speeding and about what's happening. And it's okay to speak up and to talk to one another about slowing down and an appropriate speed, both the posted speed and then a day like today, when it's very cold and the chemicals are not working as well and the exhaust is freezing on the pavement. It's an excellent example of why slowing down will make a difference. We prioritize safety at MnDOT. We want all Minnesotans to prioritize safety and to work together. It's going to take every single one of us to solve this problem. As we saw traffic volumes drop across the state in the spring of last year, dropping 70% in some cases, we saw speeds go off of the charts. And we are still seeing that today, even though traffic volumes are only down 5 to 10% statewide. We need everyone to slow down. We need folks to think about the people that they love when they're out there driving. It has to be something forefront in the mind, to be thinking about your child, your spouse, your niece, your nephew, and your friends, and how we all contribute to making it a safer Minnesota by slowing down. I want to thank you for being here and covering this. We need people to drive smart and to drive safely. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Commissioners. I'm Mark Kindy with the Minnesota Department of Health. The mission of our agency is to promote, protect, and assure good health for all Minnesotans. Preventing traffic fatalities and serious injuries due to speeding are two of our key goals. But Minnesotans need to know that emergency response and treatment are there for when reckless speeding choices lead to life-threatening crashes. At the Department of Health, we're helping make that happen by working with our fellow state agencies and through our emergency medical and trauma services. We're constantly evaluating what we do and how we do it so that we can provide fast, efficient emergency response and best practice treatment for all injured in crashes. A statewide trauma system is now bringing more Minnesota residents closer to hospitals that can handle serious injuries. 99% of Minnesotans now live within an hour of a trauma care facility. We now launch a helicopter when a 911 call is received instead of waiting for responders to arrive on scene. This is making a difference, especially in greater Minnesota. Pediatric trauma centers have been integrated into the state trauma system. But ultimately, we don't want to see Minnesotans in ambulances, hospitals, physical therapy, long-term care, or in funeral homes because of speeding. We need Minnesotans to slow down behind the wheel in order to stop the speeding crisis, in order to reduce the number of folks in our emergency rooms admitted to inpatients with life-changing injuries or death. Keeping our most vulnerable people, people with disabilities, our infants, our children, our young people, and our seniors alive and healthy are a top priority for our state. Thank you so much. And now, Commander from Ramsey County. Thank you.
I think the answer to the question is really there's several parts to it. I think there obviously less traffic, roads are less congested, so there's more lane space for drivers to use and quite honestly to abuse. I think there is also a significant misperception out there that because of COVID and some other challenges that law enforcement is not actively working traffic anymore. Nothing could be further from the truth, as I'm sure the Colonel or any of our law enforcement partners will tell you. They are out there working traffic. And we're seeing a significant increase in risk-taking behavior behind the wheel. And that includes speeding, obviously the subject of today's news conference, but we're also seeing unbelted rates in fatalities and serious injuries that are going up. So there's just a lot more aggressive driving taking place out there. Colonel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's just really simple. There's less congestion, there's more open road, and there's this perceived indifference to people that they can get away with it. And so it's just contributing to the excessive speed, and that's what we're here to talk about, and that's what we intend to fix. That's a great question. It's across the board. It's all the time. It's not a metro issue. It's not a greater Minnesota issue. It's not an urban issue or a rural issue. It's everywhere across the state, and it's all the time, and that's why we're doubling down.
Well, thank you for joining us here today, and expect to see more messages and troopers out and deputies and police departments stopping people for excess speeding. Thank you all for joining us here today.